Summer is supposed to be this time of fun, relaxation, and enjoying all sorts of events like going to the beach, taking in parades and carnivals, and going on vacation. But for kids with sensory processing disorder, it can be a season full of stress and difficulty. In fact, for many families, this is when they first recognize the signs of sensory issues in their kids, noticing that they're easily overwhelmed in big crowds and with loud noises. They don't handle transitions well, and they struggle to stay calm and regulated anytime it's hot out. Sadly, those sensory struggles aren't just for a few families here and there, as now today 1 in 6 kids are diagnosed with sensory processing disorder, and they have various challenges each and every day. Their nervous systems struggle to filter and to regulate just normal sensory input, leaving them in a constant state of sensory overload. Sadly, pediatricians often dismiss parents' concerns, saying it's just a phase, but the truth is, early intervention is crucial for children with SPD to thrive, and even more importantly, those interventions must address the root cause of sensory processing disorder and not just recommend workarounds that may be helpful but are just not sustainable. This video is for parents who suspect their child may have sensory processing disorder and want to understand the signs, causes, and available care options. We'll dive deep into all things sensory processing disorder and explore how the perfect storm of factors contribute to its development and how neurologically focused chiropractic care can help restore balance to your child's nervous system. Like we mentioned before, sensory processing disorder affects a staggering 1 in 6 children, with numbers continually rising. And despite this prevalence, SPD is frequently overlooked or misunderstood by healthcare providers. While SPD often co-occurs with autism, they are distinct conditions. Children with sensory challenges may exhibit age-appropriate skills in some areas while struggling with pronounced sensory-based difficulties in others. So here's a list of the most common signs of sensory processing disorder in kids. First, oversensitivity to touch, types of clothing, sounds, smells, lights, trying new foods. These sensitivities may lead to discomfort with certain textures, avoidance of being touched, or distress when clothing feels too tight or too itchy, as well as covering the ears in response to normal sounds, fear of loud noises like vacuum cleaners, sirens, or alarms. Second, seeking sensory input. So kiddos who seek sensory input are constantly touching objects. They're seeking strong tactile sensations, or they're engaging in rough play in inappropriate situations. Third, avoiding sensory input. These kids may avoid activities that involve physical contact, such as hugging or being distressed by activities like haircuts or teeth brushing or having their ears cleaned. Number 4, difficulty with fine motor skills. They may have challenges with tasks such as buttoning their clothes, using utensils, or writing. Number 5, difficulty with gross motor skills. These kiddos may experience problems with activities like running, 2-foot jumping, or riding a bike or a scooter. Number 6, balance and coordination issues. You'll see these kids frequently tripping, falling, or they just appear clumsier than your average kiddo. Number 7, poor body or spatial awareness. These children may have difficulty knowing where their body is in space, leading to bumping into objects frequently or even bumping into people often. Number 8, they're overwhelmed in crowded places. You may notice distress or anxiety in crowded environments like malls, parks, or parties. Number 9, difficulty transitioning between activities. You'll see frequent meltdowns or anxiety when changing from one activity to another, or moving between different environments is a common sign if it happens frequently. Number 10, emotional outbursts. They may have frequent tantrums or meltdowns in response to that sensory overload or frustration. 11, difficulty self-calming. They often need external help to help them to calm down. 12, hyperactivity or inactivity. The child may be excessively active or even lethargic, depending on the type of sensory input that they're seeking or avoiding. Number 13, difficulty sleeping. Trouble falling asleep or staying asleep due to sensory sensitivities is very common. 14, poor attention spans. You may notice that the child has difficulty focusing on tasks because they're so easily distracted by sensory stimuli all around them. 15, repetitive behaviors. You may see them engaging in repetitive motions or actions like rubbing items, hair twirling, or rocking as a way to self-soothe or manage sensory input. So the question is, what is really going on with the nervous system in SPD? Let's first break down how the body's sensory processing system works. It's a 3-part process. First, the sensory input comes in through the sensory nerves, and the sensory aspect of the spinal cord reads information from both the internal and the external environments. And then second, the brain and the central nervous system must process or interpret that sensory information and then determine what is important to pay attention to and react to, and what's not important and should be filtered out or essentially ignored. Third, the brain and the nervous system then send information and what are called actions or impulses out to the various parts of the body to react and respond to that incoming sensory input. When the sensory nerve pathways into the brain and the nervous system are altered or interfered with, the brain and the nervous system then receive bad information, and in turn that leads to poor decision making or interpretation, and finally bad or inappropriate actions or outputs as a result of the bad information and improper processing of the sensory information that was received by the brain. Essentially, it is a neurosensory communication and connection problem. It's called subluxation or nervous system dysregulation, and that creates the improper sensory perception and reaction. Next, let's talk about why sensory issues and subluxation are so hard to find and make sense of. First off, traditional pediatricians and medical doctors do not have a good understanding of SPD and neurosensory function as a whole. Second, no traditional medical testing or even movement-based therapies like PT and OT know how to find and detect subluxation specifically or nervous system dysregulation in this way. Yet, while the root cause of sensory processing disorder may escape most common medical diagnostic testing, our neurological insight scans are literally designed to find subluxation, nervous system dysregulation and dysfunction, and help parents see with their own eyes exactly what's causing their child's frequent tantrums, meltdowns, and sensory difficulties. So if you feel like you've already done months or even years of OT and you made all sorts of sensory workarounds part of your normal everyday life, and you just want things to be easier and less modified for your child and your family, you need to learn more about exactly how neurologically focused chiropractic care works. This specialized form of chiropractic care like we provide at Foundations can do so much for kids struggling with sensory issues. So help your child and your whole family get back to an easier, calmer, more consistent quality of life with chiropractic care. To learn more or to schedule an appointment, simply visit the link in our bio, leave us a comment, or send us a DM to get connected to one of our care advocates right away. We are here to help.